It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning and welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News on this, the 17th day of March 2020. A happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you. And that's both from me and from Tina Turtle. That's Tina Turtle back there in the background. Tina Turtle says happy St. Patrick's Day also. So we're here on for the regularly scheduled program of Travel and Cruise Industry News. If you're new to this channel, we certainly welcome you here. We regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. We have our news show Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We also do our interview show called Chillie Chats. We have, for at least for the time being, suspended our deal of the day until we get things back to normal in the cruise industry, which, of course, folks, they clearly aren't. But anyway, today we're doing some of these things a little bit different. I do have a couple news items. And Gretchen, by the way, Gretchen says happy good morning to you, and happy top of the morning to you too, Gretchen. We have some of our friends that have been traveling. I was starting to get a little worried about them. Tom and Cindy Henry were, of course, down in went around South America and were in off the coast of Chile and finally got into Santiago. And they are back. If you have not heard, they are back in this country. They landed yesterday in Atlanta and had a connection flight to Miami, and eventually will make their way back to their home in Richmond, Virginia. But anyway, they're back in safe and sound in the country with no problems there. And of course, our friend Bonnie, who was up in Boston for some medical meetings with her doctors up there, finally got back home to Florida and has rescued Princess and Bubba from the dog groomer. And they are back at home. So everybody is getting back to normal. Now, here at the farm in Bedford County, Virginia, outside of Lynchburg, we are going to shelter in place for the next 15 days, basically following the suggestion and guidelines from the United States government and the CDC yesterday. We're going to pretty much hang out here at the house. You know, we're a household that eats out all the time. We rarely cook at home. Which, of course, the restaurants love us. But now that they are asking, you know, they're trying to do anything that might contain the spread of COVID-19. Plus, considering the fact that in our household, excuse my throat. And no, folks, I'm not sick. That's just, that's from all my years of smoking that I finally quit 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago now. But anyway, 3 of the 4 of us in this household are in that pesky age group that are senior citizens. Thankfully, none of us have any serious underlying conditions, but still, we're in the age group where we're more susceptible to this thing than most. So we are going to pretty much hang out at home. Now, that's not saying that we won't go out at all. Like I went to the dentist yesterday. But basically, we're going to shelter in place for the time being. Amanda and my niece, the pet sitter, of course, with all that's going on, her pet sitting business is basically dried up. But Amanda is the youngest in the household, and she's going to do the grocery shopping and running errands and things like that. And we're pretty much going to hang out here for this next 15 days. So that's our way of supporting the efforts of keeping the community around here quit touching your face. Keeping the community around here safe as possible. So that's what we're doing from this end. So it's interesting to be eating at home instead of going out to restaurants. Of course, it's a couple of days of this. We'll get tired of it, and we'll start at least going back to our restaurants that either deliver food or carry out, and it's to give them business too. So, I'm fully aware that that's going to happen. Because we do have a couple stories this morning. Of course, yesterday, and kind of part of the reason that we're doing what we're doing is because of the guidelines that they've asked everybody to sacrifice some to hopefully curb the spread of COVID-19. But part of it is, of course, they don't want you for the next 15 days. And I don't know why that came up with the 15 days. But with any groups of 10 people, they don't want you to do that. They want you to avoid eating and drinking at bars, restaurants, and food courts. Use drive-throughs, pickups, or delivery options if at all possible. Of course, then yesterday, a number of the states took that a step farther and are closing their restaurants except for carry out and delivery. And I think you're probably going to see more of that too. But anyway, the part of the things that I wanted to touch on this morning is one of the things that they talked about early, but they haven't been talking about it lately, is drinking lots of water. Now, I don't have my coffee today. I finished that earlier, but I do have a big old thing of water, which I drink a lot more water these days than I used to. But do you know why? I didn't at first. If you should be exposed to the COVID-19, to the virus, and you take the germ into your system, and I don't, my terminology might be wrong, folks, don't hold me to that, but if you take the germ in, it lodges in your throat, and that's where it grows, and then it goes through the rest of your system, but it lodges first in your airways. Water flushes the system, flushes that germ from your throat and your breathing area into your stomach, and the stomach acids actually kill the virus. I didn't know that. I found that interesting. So drink lots of water, folks. That's the bottom line to that story. Okay, we got a whole bunch of comments. Let's see who all's with us this morning. Bonnie says the cavity in her wisdom tooth will have to wait. Okay, I got to tell you about the story about why I went to the dentist yesterday. I have a tooth back in the back of my mouth, way back here, that split, I don't know, 10 years ago. Chunk came off of it. Never bothered me, never hurt. I never did anything about it. Well, this weekend, that sucker decided to blow up. And I was in some serious pain all weekend. So I called the dentist the first thing yesterday morning. I said, we got to do something. So they said, well, come on over here. So I ran over to it's only about 5 minutes away. I ran over to the dentist, and they put me back in the chair and took x-rays and all that business. And I mean, I had a choice of spending a lot of money and doing the root canal and the crown business. But the dentist said, look, you got a questionable tooth back there, even whether that's going to work for long at all. So he said, probably what I'd do is yank it out. And I said, well, let's yank it out. And he said, well, we got to get things under control first. So they gave me these antibiotics, which were pills roughly the size of a football. I mean, it's awful trying to take those suckers. So I started on some antibiotics yesterday, so they get control of the infection that's back there in the tooth, which is what's causing the pain. And he said, in a day or two, he said, you'll get the pain will go away, and then we'll get that under control, and then we'll bring you in for an extraction. I said, okay. So I take ibuprofen and these antibiotics. So that's what I've been doing for the last 24 hours or so. So then I got an email message this morning that because that will be considered elective, they have asked the dentist not to do any elective surgery, only extreme emergency surgery for the next 2 weeks. So I'm not going to get my tooth yanked out for 2 weeks. So I'm not real happy about that. Anyway, so that's my tooth story. Gretchen says, I've been drinking at least a gallon a day, but you have to make an effort. Yeah, you do. And I have to tell you, I'm doing much better with it. And I'm drinking a whole lot less Diet Coke, which of course I know Diet Cokes are, I shouldn't be drinking all the Diet Cokes that I do, but I do. But anyway, that's what's going on here with the dentist. So now a couple of stories that I did want to touch. I touched my face again. That's the hard one for me, folks. That's a real hard one for me. Most of the cruise ships are in port for the time being, but there's still a couple of them out there that are having some serious issues, and still have some passengers on board. And one of them is our friend on the Norwegian Jewel. The Norwegian Jewel sailed from Sydney, Australia, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. I mean, it was a long cruise. And they've been turned away from multiple ports over the past few days on getting into land to get the people off. And it's being, the cruises have been suspended for the next 30 days, but they keep getting turned away from ports. The last I heard was they were refueling someplace in Pogo or someplace out there in the Pacific, and we're going to head for Honolulu and try to disembark in Honolulu. So I have not heard anything further on that. You've got an British ship with about 1,000 passengers on it that has some confirmed cases on board, that was finally given entry after multiple ports denied them into Cuba. And I think they were going to finally get things handled in Cuba. You have a couple Silver Sea ships that are sailing around South America that have some sickness on board. So you've still got a few ships that have passengers on board that are still having some problems out there that hopefully will get resolved here in the next day or two. Now, I have been in touch with let's get rid of that ugly picture of the Norwegian Jewel. I've been in touch with one of the crew members on the Symphony of the Sea, Royal Caribbean's ship. Now, they disembarked all their passengers on Sunday, and basically are sailing around out there with just crew on. As a matter of fact, they had a fun day at Coco Key yesterday, just the crew members, which they got a day off, and everybody got off the ship and went to Coco Key and enjoyed the beach and the water slides and all that business. Well, what I've been trying to do with my friend is that to arrange a Chillie Chats. I thought it would be interesting to have an employee of one of the cruise ships talking about what life is like on the cruise ship without any passengers, because they're still on board the ships. But she's having a difficulty getting the schedule worked out so that she'll know when she might be available when there's someplace that there's a Wi-Fi signal, so that we can set up a chat. So anyway, she's going to let me know when she gets some kind of schedule. They're working literally every day on the ships. Of course, that's a lot of cleaning and a lot of, sanitizing and disinfecting and doing all this stuff, around that when you don't have passengers on board. But they still have, they've got, 30 days or so until they get passengers back. Now, that brings up another issue. Yes, yesterday the CDC and the president, all that, issued the edict on this next 15 days with the groups of 10. Okay. Before that, earlier in the day, the CDC guidelines was for the next 60 days, I believe it was, on groups of 50. They didn't want any groups of 50 for the next 60 days, not 30 days, but 60 days. So that tells me at least, and the folks, there's been no word on this. I haven't gotten this from any of the cruise lines or anybody else, but something tells me that this 30 days that the cruise lines are voluntarily not sailing right now is probably going to get expanded to 60 days. So I have a feeling you're looking at a minimum of, that gets us into the middle of May before any cruise lines will be sailing, or possibly later. Of course, you still have the issue with Canada. The Canadian ports will not allow cruise ships until July the 1st. There has been no further talk or discussion on, at least to my knowledge, on the Alaska sailing season. But I think at best, the first half of that is going to be done. But we'll see. I mean, that's, I just wouldn't, if you've got anything planned in the next 60 days on a cruise ship, I think you probably ought to pretty much count on it not happening. I don't see it happening, at least. So anyway, that's still up in the air. A couple more people have popped in. There's Jason from Pittsburgh. Jason says he's an essential employee, so he's still working. But that's good. Stay safe, Jason, when you're out there. Of course, a lot of people that are allowed to do that are working from home now. So, which is kind of what we're doing here. Although we're not working. I mean, I'm working a little bit, but my sister and my brother-in-law are not. Of course, they're older than I am. So, but anyway, that's where we're standing here. So we're doing our little bit here. But I do believe the cruise industry, folks, is done for, I'm thinking a minimum of 60 days, and it could be even longer than that because there's still a lot going on. All right, there was another thing that came out yesterday, and I just make mention of this. If you were on any of the following cruises or ships, you need to contact your local health department or the Lenawee Health Department in Michigan or the CDC. The Azamara Quest that sailed on March the 2nd or any subsequent voyages, the Majesty of the Sea that sailed on February 29th or any subsequent voyages, the Meraviglia, which sailed on March the 1st or any subsequent voyages, the Norwegian Bliss that departed on March the 1st or any subsequent voyages, the Costa Luminosa, which sailed on March the 5th or any subsequent voyages, and the Celebrity Summit, which sailed on March the 7th and any subsequent voyages. Apparently, those sailings had at least a passenger on it that, after the fact, has tested positive, and they're trying to contact anyone that was on that ship, those ships, for further testing and checking. So that's just an effort to track down more folks that could or could not be in trouble. So I pass that along. All right, folks. Oh, I know what I didn't do. I have to pause for a commercial message. Do you have a bad back, bad hips, bad knees, or any other mobility issues? Think about Scoot Around.
for scooters, walkers, wheelchairs, even oxygen needs, delivered right to your cabin. Scoot around for all your mobility needs on your upcoming cruise. Yeah, let's hope we have upcoming cruises, I'll tell you. That's the other thing. I got canceled out of my Alaska cruise. I'd like to either reset up an Alaska cruise or some more cruise. I don't have anything on the books right now. That's unusual, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. So anyway, hope everybody has a great St. Patrick's Day. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to go out to a bar and drink green beer or anything. Yeah, if we're following what they're saying. So as you can tell, I'm in green. I don't know if it shows green because of my lighting effect, but this is a green shirt, even though it's not a St. Patrick's Day shirt. Of course, I'm about as Irish as Bonnie's Bubba, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, I am keep working on the website, trying to, get rid of all the dates now that are not being used and get it up to date, and the price changes and all this stuff. And boy, it's a massive pain in the butt. But keep working on it. Eventually, it'll get caught up. Of course, that'll probably be about the time I get it all finished and all caught up is when they'll say, okay, we're not going to do the next 30 days either and have to do it all over again. But we'll see. So anyway, the website continues to be updated and upgraded all the time. I need to get back to making some videos. I've got about 6 or 7 partially made in the hopper that I need to finish up and get them posted. So hopefully I'll get to some of that this week, since I'm really literally doing nothing around here now. I can't go get my tooth pulled either for 2 weeks. So that'll wait till after this 15-day period too. So anyway, that's it for today, guys. I'll be back on, what is today? Today's Tuesday. I'll be back on Thursday at our normal scheduled time. Should anything major happen between now and then, of course, I'll still go live or get videos posted or something as soon as possible. And you guys all stay safe out there. Be good and be good to each other. And I'll see you the next time on Travel and Cruise Industry News. This is Chillie, the Fat Travel Guy. Later, y'all.
Thank you for watching today's Travel and Cruise Industry News. Join us every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern for another episode. Travel and Cruise Industry News is a production of Chillie's Cruises.